Garrett and Drake, congratulations on Love Antosha documentary. Thank you so much for your time today, for talking with me. I want to ask, because I saw this documentary, loved it. Let's start with this question. Why is now the right time for this documentary to arrive? Or in other words, how did this project come to be?
So I was approached by Drake. Drake had a relationship with Anton. He made a film called Like Crazy years ago. Drake was very important to Anton in his life, as a friend, as a filmmaker. So when his parents initially had this idea of possibly finding a filmmaker to tell this story, they reached out to Drake. And to Drake's credit, he felt himself too close to Anton to do the film justice. He really knew, thought, and convinced him to bring an objective voice in to tell Anton's story. But he wanted to very much be a part of it, so he jumped in the producer's seat and he brought me in to make this as a director. And I met with his parents. I started to learn Anton's story and just fell in love with how much of a layered, unique, passionate individual and artist he was. And it was a story I wanted to tell.
Well, on that note, Drake, you've done a movie with Anton, Like Crazy, and in this documentary we saw, I watched a lot of celebrities who've worked with Anton, express or share their experience working with Anton and behind the scenes stories. I was wondering if you could just share what was your, impression, memory about, your collaborator, Anton Yelchin.
Specific visual memories that sticks in my mind is just him having a camera around his neck all the time and just constantly taking pictures of everybody. I have a bunch of pictures in my house that he just took of me on the day we met, during rehearsal process, different times. I mean, he was constantly photographing everybody and everything. And those pictures are so special because it really is a lens into his world and his perception of his world and our experiences and different things like that. So, I think that's just, in hindsight, it was like, oh yeah, Anton's just constantly shooting everything. But it really was just so special the way he saw the world.
Here's a fun question. I'm a big fan of Nicolas Cage. What's the decision behind having Nicolas Cage be narrating the letters?
Once I kind of figured out I wanted to frame this movie around Anton's words, these letters he wrote his mom and dad, I knew I needed a voice to read his words. I didn't want somebody to be Anton, but someone just that could, bring the emotion and the vigor and the tenacity that Anton brought to life. And I asked his mom, Irene, I said, I need to find someone that had an emotional connection with Anton that we haven't talked to yet for the movie, and that could bring gravitas to this, And her first choice said Nicolas Cage. Anton loved working with him. He respected him as an actor. And Drake and I were like, you know what? This sounds kind of like the perfect choice. I think the two of them are somewhat kindred spirits, really, and like their choices of projects they take on, whether they're big budgets or small indies, and they're both huge cinephiles. So we reached out to Nick, and he was on board immediately, said, come out to Las Vegas, let's do this. And we went out to Las Vegas and spent a day with him, reading Anton's words. It was a very emotional experience for him and us, and you can feel it when you watch the film. You can hear it in his voice. You hear him choking up, and I think he really, really took to heart, and it was an honor for him to do this project.
I want to ask, was there any celebrity that you want to have be on the documentary sharing their story as well, that just you couldn't fit them in? Anything that got left out?
Everybody wanted to talk about Anton, and we had 60 plus interviews in the end. It's incredible, right? So unfortunately, there's some incredible people we just couldn't physically fit in the movie. Susan Sarandon, Glenn Close.
Price.
Yeah. I mean, am I the first person to cut Glenn Close out of a movie? Probably. and they were amazing, and they had an amazing experience, and Anton impacted their lives too. There's a point where you start building a film, and you have to, unfortunately, find what moments best move the narrative that you're trying to tell, and But you know what? No one's feelings are hurt because everyone just wanted to help tell this story. You know what I mean?
Drake, Anton, I met him once. I never got to interview him, unfortunately. But by watching this documentary, I get the sense that he was a Renaissance man. And he was always curious. He was always, very proactive. And the relationship that he had with his co-stars extend beyond just the set. You know, a lot of people are like, okay, we're done, and they're not going to see each other until the premiere. But that's not how Anton worked, apparently. Can you talk a bit about, working with him as an actor? How much input did he usually give on the set? Did he always ask you like about the process? Like, oh, because I was when I talked about this with my friend, I said if Anton had lived a bit longer, he would have won an Oscar either for filmmaking or as an actor. Can you share some thoughts about that?
I think Anton was incredibly interested in everything that everybody was doing on a movie set, and how that influenced what he was doing and how they interacted. So I think that was, he was always constantly asking people questions. But yeah, I think the friendships that he made on set really kind of carried over into reality and into life. And I think there's so many relationships that he maintained that were important to him. And I think that says so much about him as a person, that it wasn't just about going to work and going home. It was about filling his life with people that inspired him and inspiring people to explore and to try new things and to just enjoy the process, whether it's chaotic or it's things are success or they're a failure. It's all part of the process. Super rare. I've met only a few people in my life that I've worked with that I feel like are the people that I got that close with and that meant that much to me in my life. But Anton was definitely one of them. And I think he shaped how I view friendships completely in my life in so many ways. And I've been thinking about that for years now since he passed. I treat and look at maintaining and cultivating relationships and friendships with people that are important to me, whether I work with them or not, in a totally different way because of him.
How much access did Anton's parents allow you? I mean, like, was there a point where they're like, you know what, could you leave this part of the story out?
Again, to their credit, they gave me full autonomy to tell the story. And I think them being artists themselves, them raising an artist, they knew to respect the vision of a filmmaker. And they also understood to really, Anton was such an authentic, real person. And to sugarcoat anything would not be Anton. And I think that's why they knew it was important to really show the full picture and be able to explore the darker sides a little bit, show both sides of the coin, I guess, a way of saying it, warts and all. So they were the perfect collaborators in this. And they were always available if I needed to talk to them and learn more about Anton and wanted to have, as hard it is to talk about their son, about certain aspects of his life, they were always there to help if it meant me telling the story of their son. They just saved everything and they handed everything over to me. And, it was a treasure trove of material to draw from, to work from and be inspired by. The meeting Anton through this project has been truly profound for me. And I hope an audience feels the same way I do after, watching this.
What do you hope audience would take away from watching Love Antosha with regards to, knowing about Anton's legacy?
So this is a movie about the celebration of life. It's a movie about life. It's not a movie about death. And he is so inspiring for the amount of stuff that he did in a short amount of time. I just want an audience to be inspired and just go out yourself and just keep creating and making and moving forward and don't waste any time.
Yeah, hopefully anyone who's ever created anything or wants to create anything will understand and see that fear is an important part of the process, and it's important to embrace that. And it's important to embrace your demons and your chaos and all those things that make you who you are and make the exploration of life worth participating in. So hopefully it just really inspires people.